What's up, guys? This is Tom Burkhart from Car Rev Daily in the 2018 Ford Expedition Platinum. Let's go out for a drive review in this truck and see all the amazing things of this all-new Expedition for 2018. Structure of this review will be the performance drive with interspersed picture-in-picture video of the exterior walk-around and cabin detail walk-arounds. So, structure of the main review, let's say what's new for the Expedition, which starts from $53,000 and is a full-size body-on-frame SUV with a 9,300 pound tow rating for 2018. So what's new with the truck? Where is it great and where could it be better? And how does it fare versus rivals like Tahoe, Yukon, and Infiniti QX80, Nissan Pathfinder, Toyota Land Cruiser, and Sequoia. And then the European, what they call full-size SUVs, like the GLS and the upcoming BMW X7 and Audi Q7. So, first things first, the Expedition is like almost brand new. Oh, the third point, we're going to close out on like actual pricing for this truck. So, Expedition is brand new in 2018 in a pretty crazy way. It's very, very rare that full-size SUVs get this heavy of a redesign, and it has been about 16 or 18 years since the Expedition had changes this serious to its platform, drivetrain, and body structure. The truck is all new. It's just all new. There's no other way to say it. So, Ford's revolution in going aluminum for the F-150 and F-250 is paying huge dividends, and they're rolling it out now to the Expedition. So that means that this Expedition has an all-new steel frame, ladder frame chassis, paired with aluminum bodywork. So that helps the vehicle to lose overall about 500 pounds versus the Expeditions from before, even though it is 3 inches longer in the standard length, or I think maybe 5 inches longer or so in the Expedition Max, the long wheelbase that was previously called the EL, the extended length. So, so it's basically lost a ton of weight, and then they've added back about 200 extra pounds of equipment like noise, vibration, harshness, insulation, and a much stiffer steel frame. So this steel frame is perhaps the even bigger news than the all-aluminum bodywork, because it is so different and so stiff and so confidence-inspiring. It's an amazing upgrade. It makes the Expedition feel absolutely on par with the world's best. It drives very similarly to a Range Rover these days, which is very surprising, especially versus the old Expedition, which, good as it was with this 3.5-liter twin-turbocharged EcoBoost V6, which was a godsend versus the previous V8s in terms of power and overall handling. So as good as that Expedition was from a couple years ago, this one is like 10x better. It's so much more rigid, so much quieter, so much more precise, rides better, and handles significantly better as well. I've got the truck in sport mode right now, so it's a little bit growly, which is cool. That brings us to the next little segment of the what's new. So drivetrain. So this 3.5-liter V6 is and 10-speed automatic is almost directly from the Ford Raptor, and it makes 375 horsepower as standard and up to 400 horsepower and 480 foot-pounds of torque in this Expedition Platinum. So it is fantastically modern in terms of powertrain. And so I can go to M, and that even extends to the shift lever, which is now no longer a column-mounted one, but a twist-o-matic. So it's super easy, super intuitive. I can put it in drive and then also put it in manual, and then from here, you have full control, and you can shift through the gears with plus minus here, as well as a display of what gear you're in at all times right by the tachometer. So 10 gears, 400 horsepower, 480 foot-pounds of torque really adds up. So the Expedition Platinum for 2018 will do the 0 to 60 sprint in 5.7 seconds, which is amazingly rapid for such a huge vehicle, and even quicker than the QX80, and about a full second quicker than Tahoe, and about 7/10 quicker than the 6.2-liter Yukon Denali's. So quicker even than Escalade. I mean, this is a seriously impressive powertrain. So it really does well in terms of its towing stats, like we said, you know, up to 9,300 pounds, which is the class best tow rating, and drivability is significantly improved as well. So it's very, very speedy, but it's sort of, it doesn't really feel like race car speedy, even in sport mode like we have it now. The reason for that is, like the F-250 with its 925 foot-pounds of torque, it just is so optimized to pull enormous loads, enormous cabin loads, enormous towing loads, and would give you the same performance with 5,000 pounds in trailer out back as it does when it's totally empty. So that's sort of changes the performance dynamic, but this Expedition Platinum feels so strong and so full of power at all times. It's really tremendous to drive. I'm a big fan of this truck. I like it a lot. So let's talk about what else is new and differentiation points versus Tahoe and Yukon, which are still the biggest sellers in the segment, although not for long. They really shouldn't be. I mean, this new Expedition and its sibling, the Navigator, are superb, and they're built in Kentucky, where Ford just announced that they're going to be adding a $25 million investment to boost capacity, because they basically can't deliver these trucks as fast as people are snapping them up. Demand is ravenous. So that's really, really good. I'm proud of Ford for all that they've done. I mean, for this revolution in chassis design and engineering is pretty significant, and it deserves applause. So, well done, Ford. So that's pretty cool stuff. And so we're gonna go back to this way in the handling loop. I like the drive modes. I like the whole interfaces. I love these new seats. So then let's talk about the cabin. So all new exterior design, of course, and all new interior. And this cabin feels so much better than any Ford I've ever been in, which in the last couple of years we're getting really lackluster in terms of like even the leather wrap for the steering wheel on some premium Fords. Sort of looking at the the Explorer Platinum when I'm saying this, the leather was like so bad. It just felt like vinyl. It was so nasty, and it really could not compete with any. Even the latest luxury General Motors cabins or Fiat Chrysler cabins for that matter. So it's really great that Ford has taken their interior improvements as seriously as they have drivetrain and chassis engineering with all the aluminum. So in terms of the cabin feel, we've got those all new seats, like I mentioned, still with the in the Platinum. We've got massage function and individually adjustable air bolsters. But the most significant pieces for me is that the headrests are like 1,000 times more comfortable than ever before. The seats are more supportive laterally for average American-sized people, and then they also are a lot deeper, so you have a lot more under-thigh support than Tahoe or even Escalade. So these seats are awesome. This new platform lowered the floor, so the floor I think is about 2 inches lower in front and in back than before, and there's extra legroom. The truck is absolutely enormous. Shoulder and hip room are maybe the biggest of any vehicle on sale right now, which is awesome. And it feels it. And then the other big change is the driving position is much improved. You've got a much larger range of adjustment for the electronic telescope steering wheel, and you can really get it in like a comfortable, sporty place to drive. You know, sporty seating position, and let the car shrink around you, which is fantastic, because there are full-size SUVs on the market. People hate the way I sit, so I'll try to scoot forward. There are full-size SUVs on the market that drive huge, basically. They all drive huge when you get in, but after a couple days, they tend to get a little more, you get a little more familiar with how to drive them in traffic. But it depends. I mean, it depends on the truck in terms of how quickly you're going to get familiar with all of that scale. So for like the Armada, for example, is sprung so softly that it just is pretty kind of challenging to drive, especially on roads like this, with a lack of body control. Similar to the Land Cruiser out here was a mess, and those GM full-size SUVs are no picnic in terms of driving confidence either. So this Expedition, one of the greatest things that I have thought of while driving it this week, and the greatest compliments I could give it, is that it really drives small. It drives more compact than it is, which as one of the largest vehicles on Earth is a pretty good achievement. And it drives smaller and drives with precision. You've got really nice feel through the steering wheel. A generally pretty good ride quality. Overall, it's pretty good. These are continuously variable dampers on this 2018 Expedition Platinum, which is nice, but it doesn't have really like that air softness and the extra cushiness that'll come with the Navigator and its fancy suspension. But what you do have in this Expedition is a really nicely judged and well-balanced compromise of ride and handling. So giving you that control on twisty roads is hugely confidence-inspiring. And then having a much better ride than before is also really good too. One of the other big places that Expedition really one-upped itself and significantly, I mean, is so much better than Tahoe, it's not even comparable, is in like impact bump harshness. So when you go over a big pothole in the old Expedition, there was a lot of clanging, like a lot of stuff was moving around. You know, it was just like a lot, it wasn't like a clean, you know, sort of hit and then the suspension managed it. Even with independent suspension and back, it just didn't have as much control. Whereas for 2018, the suspension, it seems really well judged. I really genuinely like the way it drives. I think it could ride a little bit softer, but even that being said, it rides about as smoothly as the QX80 and is so much smoother than Escalade that it's not even funny. I mean, Escalade, of course, all these big trucks, the loaded ones run on 22-inch wheels, so it's really hard to make them ride smoothly, and Escalade doesn't deliver. It has an electronic suspension with adjustment, but it's so rough and so harsh, and it's all over the place. Like if you hit a bump in the back going around a corner or an on-ramp, I mean, you could lose that thing. Like, it's really not trustworthy in some circumstances, whereas this Expedition really genuinely feels strong and smart and like it has the situations under control. So great stuff. This truck is amazing. I genuinely really like it. I wasn't sure how I felt about the exterior design until I spent some time with it. The most notable thing is that instead of having a C-pillar that is body colored, we've gone to the sort of traditional look with full blacked out glass house and a horizontal belt line above the door handles that runs the full length of the truck. So it definitely looks a little bit more like the Yukon Denali than before, but it has a lot of unique Ford panache, especially with this Platinum package and its LED bonanza. So LED taillights, LED headlights for the low beams, LED high beams in that sort of like square, the double stacked rectangles like the loaded F-150s. Awesome light, awesome automatic high beams, and then even LED fogs for this year. Really, really impressive. Great lighting and great style on the road, especially with these LED daytime running lights that are just genuinely like cool and classy, and they sort of form a little horseshoe around the edge of the, I'm gonna go back into mud ruts, sand, grass. We'll go back into normal mode. So the truck gets a little bit quieter, a little bit smoother, but genuinely is always pretty good. So into normal mode here. So really, really satisfying machine. And then we didn't even get to all the technology and the comfort. Well, comfort a little bit we got to. So the truck is 3 inches longer. Almost all that legroom went to the second row, which is absolutely ginormous, with a really nice reclining level of recline for those back seats, and fabulously updated technology from start to finish. For example, like full Apple CarPlay, that's like the best integration I've ever seen. You just plug in your phone and boom, it's there. Pretty good nav, pretty good controls, and then all of the electronic safety stuff is not only here but brand new. So like the lane keep assist, the active cruise and all of that stuff is much smarter, quicker, and smoother than ever before. We've got electronic parking brake for 2018 on this Expedition Platinum, but not an auto hold for some reason. So you still have to have your foot on the brake at stoplights, but really not a big deal. And that technology explosion and infusion continues into the second and third row seats as well. So you've got like tons of tons of USB chargers, a Qi wireless charging point in front, and then the infotainment consoles in the headrest for the second row are like fantastic. They have their own USB inputs. Each screen has its own like aux audio out, custom headphones with the remotes, as well as I think a DVD or a Blu-ray player in each screen. Right behind each screen, SD card integration, HDMI integration. I mean, this is as good as you could possibly ask. Still some great Expedition stuff that people loved continues, like the second row seats that slide fore and aft, and are three individual buckets for the second row, and then a big bench for the third row, allowing seating for 8. Or you can get captain chairs in the second row and drop that seating to 7. Still absolutely enormous, and very, very tech savvy back there. Even the third row, for example, has their own charge ports and air vents and things of that nature. Another thing that people love that I'm glad to see is continuing for this 2018 Expedition is the individual opening option for the glass hatch in back. So in addition to power operated open and close for the tailgate, you can just open that glass part and get your stuff in that way. The power fold third row seats are still pretty good. They're a lot quicker than QX80s to fold down, or Armada, which are like so slow. And then you genuinely, with the third row fold down, even parts of it, you have a ton of storage space in this truck. I mean, the fact that it's enormous goes without saying, but it's just as bigger and better than ever. Floor is so much lower than Tahoe and its siblings that it really allows a lot of comfort from every seating position. Whereas like in Escalade, for example, in that second row, your legs are kind of like out, whereas here your legs go down, and it's just genuinely like so modern and fantastic. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this review. So closing out, we'll talk about pricing. The Expedition for 2018 comes in 2 lengths, like we said. So base price of about $53,000 for the XLT, and then add like $4 to $5 grand for the XLT Max. Expedition Limited is, I don't know, like a 60 or so, and then adding a couple grand for the Max version, and then this Expedition Platinum with absolutely everything standard comes in at $72,000, and the Max is like $75,000. The Expedition Max Platinum. Very, very competitive pricing. It always seems a little high when you see American cars with pricing into the 70s and 80s, but truly, I mean, you can spend this on a Tahoe or a Suburban in a heartbeat, and even more for that matter. And you're just getting an inferior truck. So where could Expedition possibly be better? I mean, I do kind of miss the V8 exhaust note. That's one thing. And then I think it could feel a little bit more enthusiastic off the line. But that's about it. I mean, I think this Expedition is fantastic. Even if you don't love the way it looks, you should absolutely go drive it and heavily consider this vehicle, because it's superb. It absolutely just makes every other vehicle in the class feel ridiculously yestertech. Thanks for watching. This is Tom Burkhart from Car Revs Daily.